Today, I want to talk about a plant that I think is completely underrated, the begonias. Let me tell you all the reasons why I love the begonia, how we can care for them, the different types of begonias that they are, and I have an example of every single one of those types right here with me today. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and I am in southeastern North Carolina. If you have overlooked begonias in the past, I am here today to tell you why they are one of the most easy and rewarding plants to grow in our gardens. Let's dig into what makes begonias so special, what the different types are that you might want to try, how I propagate begonias, easily I might add, and how to care for them so that they thrive in your garden. So let me tell you why I think the begonia is an underrated powerhouse. First of all, as I mentioned, they do come in different types. So if you have sun on your property, if you have shade on your property, if you want a begonia as an indoor plant, you have an option with one or more of these styles. Very generally speaking, I would say overall begonias like part sun. 3 to 6 hours of sun in a day is what they want. However, as we jump into the different styles, you'll see that some actually tolerate more sun, some actually prefer much more shade, and that sort of thing. I understand that the flower blooms on these plants are small, and normally I go for very large, showy blooms, but if you look at this begonia right next to me, yeah, the flowers might be small, but do you see the red foliage and stems that accompany the red blooms, which makes this flower pot stand out when it sits in the rock garden behind me. I have it paired with the sunshine ligustrum, so the yellow backdrop of that shrub with the red shining of this begonia, oh my gosh, it is so awesome. Can't wait to share everything I know with you right now. As you can see, just with the few examples that I have around me, we have differing foliage shapes. We have differing bloom colors. We have different growth habits. They can be compact, they can grow super tall. Their foliage is one of the reasons why people love certain types of begonias. Their different growth habits are another. As I said, they could be a border plant, a container plant, a star of the show plant. And here's something super awesome. Once they start blooming, they don't stop. Particularly this begonia right here, which is one of the 4 types that we are diving into today. Once this baby starts blooming in the springtime, it does not stop blooming until frost. And I mean, it doesn't come in waves, it doesn't come in flushes, it literally does not stop blooming. Here's something important to note. These flowers are stunning in different types of light requirements. They are not only made for shade, even though people often associate the begonia with a shade garden only. You know, I have full sun gardens here, and these guys have been living with me for a while. As long as I put them in a spot where they're not brutally getting hit all day long, maybe morning sun or afternoon sun, these guys thrive for me. And they can tolerate more sun than you think as long as you keep them well watered. I actually put my pots of begonias into my drip irrigation system just to ensure that they are watered properly. All right, let's talk about type number 1. The cane begonia or the angel wing begonia. Can you see these long angel wing shaped leaves on this plant? This plant in particular is one that I keep indoors only. Here is another version of it. The cane begonia is really known for bamboo styled stems, a tall growth habit, obviously the elongated shaped leaves. Again, angel wing begonia is a little nickname for these plants. They have showy foliage. Like, are you kidding me with these polka dots? The polka dots are actually the reason I was super duper attracted to this plant. I have propagated it before by clipping off pieces of the stem and rooting that stem in water. Now, literally my only complaint with this plant in particular is, can you see like the brown tips on some of these leaves? The brown tips happen when you're not getting like a very regimented amount of water. Well, I'm not that great at being regimented in the watering when I have indoor plants. I kind of water as I think about it and remember and go around the house giving little drinks to all of my plants. Well, this guy is sensitive to that, so if you're not very good at keeping an eye on how much water your plant has, then maybe this style begonia is not exactly right for you. Angel wing begonias, which don't only have to look like this at all, differ from other types of begonias, both in their structure and their scale, as we said. Since these guys can grow to be several feet tall, their foliage becomes a real wow factor. They can have spotted leaves or variegated leaves, and that adds major impact to any area. Now, if you have a flowering angel wing begonia, you may notice that once it starts blooming, it does not stop until frost. So interest all season long as you put it in a part sun location and consistently water it. Yep, I'm all about that. Begonia type number 2 is the Rex begonia. Now, this is the only example of one I have now. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have been gifted this piece of Rex begonia that was a division from someone else's plant. It had been flowering for well over a month, and this is just the remnants of the flower stem. So you can see the dramatic foliage on the Rex begonia. They can have swirls, they can have metallic kind of foliage. Very, very dramatic foliage is why people have the Rex begonia, and if you look in your garden centers, you will see them right now. These make great indoor plants. That is where I keep this guy. I am not intending to ever keep this Rex begonia outdoors, but if you do have a sheltered spot for them, the Rex begonia could be for you. Again, the dramatic foliage, oh my gosh. Tuberous begonias is number 3, the third variety we are talking about today. The tuberous begonia is recognizable because of its rose-like shaped flower blooms. This guy wants shade. I actually purchased this flower arrangement that has the creeping Jenny and my tuberous begonia in it. I have yellow blooms. I don't know if you can see yellow blooms, as well as these gorgeous peach style blooms. Oh my gosh, I bought it specifically for the one shady spot I have in my entire yard. It is showing off over there, I will tell you what, because even in a dark little corner of your garden, oh my gosh, you see how much color and impact this guy has? So again, big rose shaped blooms. It does prefer the shade, as I said, or even some cooler temperatures. So keep this one protected so it thrives as well. Many folks do treat this as an annual, and I myself would do the same thing, and if I want to keep it, I'm going to be bringing it indoors for the winter. This particular variety does bloom in cycles. It likes to have a rest period, especially if it's pretty hot outside. The fourth variety of begonias I'd like to share with you are these gorgeous babies. The wax begonias here and here and here are the ones that I have the most of in my garden. These guys are the ones that I can propagate super duper easily. Well, as I said, the angel wing also propagated easily. I simply can take a clipping from the stem of one of these gorgeous babies and root it right in water. I like to take my stem clippings, put them into a clear jar of water so that I can actually watch the rooting process take place over, say, about 4 weeks. This guy, once they start getting a nice little root system developed, you can go ahead and pop those up or plant them into the ground. What is so nice about being able to easily propagate is you can just keep developing more and more and more. In fact, I'm going to take some of this red, because the red blooms on the red foliage and the red stems is going to make an awesome border plant for my poolside garden. So wax begonias, they are compact. They can get bushy if you let them. If I separate this pot right here and move clumps of this into other areas, I can start enjoying it getting bigger and bushier in these new containers. Oh my gosh, talk about, so I just said I was going to use it as a border plant. Well, look at some of the containers I have happening for this wax begonia. So not only do I have it in each of the containers that you can see right here, as well as this container with a cordyline spike that I had in my yard last year and just overwintered indoors. But how about the begonias that I put inside my ladyhead planter? I simply took some of the pink blooming flowers out of a pot they had overwintered in and set them inside my ladyhead planter. Look how adorable that is. Also, do you remember seeing these containers that I put together in the very early spring? This is back in March. See how I put some of the pink begonia in here as well? And I have new little clippings. If you pinch off the tops of these, they're going to start to bush out and leaf out even more. So I have the pink in that container. And then over here in the container filled with so much hot pink, vibrant color, reds in here, I have the other one, the red one with the delicious red foliage. So we've talked about the different varieties of begonias. We've seen examples of each of them. We've seen them both in these regular containers as well as in arrangements. Soon you're going to see them planted in my actual ground. But let's talk about the general care requirements of these plants, so maybe you'll even understand why I didn't have them in the ground up until this point. Most begonias are hardy zones 9 to 11. So being in zone 8, I'm kind of a little bit out of reach of that zone 9. However, I did recently have someone else from North Carolina tell me that they have overwintered them successfully in the ground. So I decided, yep, I want to pop them into the borders. I'm going to see if I can plant them out into a couple of other areas too. And it's going to be a great experiment to see if I can actually overwinter the begonias in my ground. But for now, I am bringing these guys indoors. I am lucky enough to have a greenhouse so they can live in there if they don't come and live inside my house. So zones 9 through 11. We started out by saying that overall, in general, these guys want part sun or filtered sun. And again, that's true. We did talk about how this guy over here, the tuberous begonia, prefers shade. Well, this guy over here, my wax begonia that I have so many of, and as I said, I have a full sun garden, they can tolerate the full sun, again, as long as it's not being blasted literally for the entire day and you keep them watered. So we have a little bit of a mix there, who can tolerate what, but part sun being a general rule of thumb. We do want to keep everything watered but not soggy, because begonias don't like to sit in soggy soil. I do fertilize the plants that I have outside. So the begonias go on my regular fertilizing schedule along with everything else. I use a water soluble fertilizer all growing season long. So if they are out here in the sun, I generally will fertilize that way about weekly. I have a long growing season here, the heat, the humidity, some other brutal growing conditions going on. So I want to make sure these guys are taken care of and they don't feel beaten up in the sun, for example. I have referred to begonias as a trusted flower friend because once they are there for you, they don't quit. So these guys, as I said, they're reliable bloomers. How could you possibly go wrong with something starting to bloom in the spring and lasting you until frost? Oh, I just don't see any way of losing with these flowers at all. So when I say they're underrated, I mean it. If you haven't tried begonias in one way, shape, or form in your garden or inside your home, definitely give them a shot. They are out in full force in the garden centers right now, so grab them and enjoy. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, you guys, happy planting.